to call a PZA meeting for November 20th to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Featherling?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Weber?
Present.
Mr. Long?
Present.
Mr. Swanson?
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Present.
Ms. Foster? Ms. Andrade? Mr. Ashcraft? Ms. Turner? Mr. Marion? Mr. Lowy?
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand? We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any public comment. Is anyone here for public comment today? No? Okay, thank you. Move on to approval of minutes from September 18th. Everybody got those in your email. Have any questions or anything? Want to change them? Otherwise, entertain a motion. Mr. Lowry, Mr. Eckhoff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No, thank you. Okay, I have to get a motion to change the agenda a little bit, because there's in the first section of the building report, it says change August and September. It should be September and October. Get that on the record then. Okay, Mr. Lowry, Mr. Swanson, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Okay, Del.
All right,
You're
building reports?
Building reports. Oh, sorry.
All right, thank you. In your packet, you should have the building report for both September and October 2024. The September building report, we had 3 new houses. Total permits were 102 with the valuation of 4.1 million. And we brought in revenue of 45,532, which is up from the previous year by about $10,000 for that month. In October, we had another 3 new homes, issued 111 permits, $24.8 million in valuation, and brought in revenue of $89,139.50, and that is up from the previous year of the same month of only $23,000. So we are definitely trending upward. The October numbers were higher because of a $17,000 permit for Van Drunen Warehouse and a solar farm permit for $34,000.
Thanks. Can I get a motion to approve? Mr. Lowry? Oh, Mr. Long? Get all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thanks. Okay, Del.
Stormwater MS4 program. That program requires us to have public input into the program, so every month we ask this committee if there are any stormwater issues, clean water issues that they need to bring to us. If not, keep that in mind for next month or any previous, or any.
Comes up every month.
Yes. We will be asking that question every month.
We get some rain, then there'll be something maybe.
We want to keep our stormwater permit from the IEPA in good standing.
Okay. Next up, I'd like to get a motion to combine and improve the KA32 solar decommissioning plan and the Lincoln KA04 solar LLC decommissioning plan. Combine and approve. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Weber, second. Mr. Long. Okay, go ahead, Del.
These actually came before you back in September, but we had the wrong numbers for the decommissioning bond. The new numbers and the actual numbers are up on the screen there. Each one would be in the $340,000, $356,000 range. I think the previous number, KA32 was 191 and 2000 North Solar was 236. So a little bit of an error there.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, thanks. Okay, next up we have some zoning cases here, a couple. You got ZBA case 24-04, request for rezoning from A1 Agricultural District to RE Rural Estate District to RE Rural Estate District on a parcel generally situated in section 15 of Essex Township. Petitioner is Frederick Brum and the trustee is Ann M. Lardy, trust property owner and applicant. Okay, Del.
You want a motion first?
Yeah, we get a motion. Okay, Mr. Lowry. Okay, Mr. Swanson, first and second. Go ahead.
All right, this is a request to rezone these two parcels outlined in red. It's actually one parcel right now, but back in 1997, the owner of the farm, this was all one large 160-acre parcel with two homes on it, started the process, well, went through the process of rezoning both houses to rural estate, and never followed through with dividing them off of the farm. Since then, the farmland has been sold off, leaving just the area outlined in red, which is a little bit different than the 1997 configuration, which is why we need to adjust the zoning. So some of that area is still zoned A1. So to correct that, we're just having the entire red parcel rezoned to rural estate, so that the entire thing is the proper zoning. Accompanying this is also, you'll see later on in the agenda, a minor subdivision plat to divide the two parcels into two small lots for the subdivision. Zoning board heard this case back on the 4th of November and voted 6-0 to recommend approval.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Skimmerhorn this morning for this one? Okay. Dale, anything else?
No, that's
okay.
good.
Okay, barring no questions, we had a motion and a second. We get all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign? None? Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have ZBA case 2411, a request for a variance 121-281C, accessory structure location on a parcel generally situated in section 2 of Summer Township. The petitioner is Josephine Boykin, property owner and applicant. Okay, you get a motion in a second here? Mr. Lowry? Anybody else for a second? Okay, Ms. Weber? Okay, thank you. Hey, Dale?
Okay. The owners of this parcel would like to use our farmstead exemption criteria to divide off the farmstead from the farm so that it can be sold, which is the area in blue. One of the criteria of that process is that the property must meet all other aspects of our ordinance. There is a barn that you can see on the right-hand side there that sits in the front yard, which does not meet the requirements of our ordinance. So they're asking for a variance to allow that barn to stay where it is rather than remove it from the property. If the variance doesn't go through, the barn can still stay there. It would just be legal non-conforming and not eligible for any permits. But zoning board did meet on the 4th on this as well, and also voted 6-0 to recommend approval.
Okay, thanks, Dale. Any questions for Dale? Mr. Eckhoff? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, I am related to the individual here, so I will be abstaining.
Okay, thanks, Cole. Anybody, no questions by anybody today? Okay. We had a motion in a second. You all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign? Abstain? Okay. Thanks. Okay, next up we have a subdivision, a Lardy minor subdivision preliminary final plat. Got a button for that one?
Yeah, next one. Yeah. All right, this accompanies, did you want to vote? Or?
Oh yeah, there you go, we can do that too. Can I get a motion in a second for this one, subdivision? Mr. Long? Mr. Lowry? Thank you.
Okay. This accompanies the zoning case 24-04. This is the minor subdivision that goes along with that. It's a 2-lot subdivision, one for each of the houses. It went out for a 45-day review. We had no comments, came back. So now we're recommending approval of the minor subdivision.
Okay. Mr. Long?
So this is number 7? 7, yes.
Gotcha.
So this is pretty typical when the farm is split from the building site. Is that not true?
It is. What's triggering the minor subdivision, the Illinois Plat Act allows you to divide off one parcel from the original parcel that is less than 5 acres. Since this is 2 parcels, that's what's triggering the need for the minor subdivision. Had it only been one house, being divided off, the subdivision would not be needed.
I think we'll probably see a lot more of this as family homes get sold generationally.
People get
I
older.
believe so, and that's why we came up with the farmstead exemption to allow the farmhouse to be divided off.
Very good.
And they could have used the farmstead exemption on this, except back in 1997, we didn't have a farmstead exemption when they started that zoning process, so.
Okay.
We always learn something new at this meeting, so
Oh, good. Okay, there's one thing.
thank you.
Mr. Wilson's not been up here yet.
He's coming.
Okay, maybe two things.
He's coming.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Get all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thanks. All right. Morning, Mr. Wilson. Next up, we have the Hopkins Park Natural Gas Conversion Grant. We've been talking about this one for a while. Mr. Wilson's here to update us on that. We don't need any vote on this, do we?
No.
Okay, just an update.
Yeah, a minor update.
Okay.
But I think it's important to give this context. And I've spoken with some of you about this. When we received $1 million through Senator Patrick Joyce, which is awesome, to help residents convert their homes onto natural gas. So that includes interior piping, water heaters, replacement orifices. We initially had a smaller budget, but made a change when we worked with the senator, so that we're granting up to $5,500 per house. And when we received the grant funds, initially we received a capital advance of $140,000 and some change. Recently, we requested an additional capital advance, and the state's telling us it's a reimbursement grant only. So I pitched this to you, and it is a bit of a bait and switch, and that's why I'm in front of you today to talk a little bit about it. We have talked with Mr. McCarty about how we manage all of our other grants. It's very common for these to be reimbursement grants. I think fundamentally the difference here is if we receive a grant to build a bridge and do the work and pay for the bridge, and then don't receive the grant back, we have a bridge. In these instances, if we do the work to convert people's homes and don't receive the grant back, we don't have a bridge. And so I think from the staff perspective, as we recommend this, we want to put a cap on how much we would outlay to minimize your risk. So we can continue to work on the project. We can continue to work with Glady to ensure that residents' homes are being converted, but also understanding that it's not going to be an upfront cash amount. We will use it. And again, in our grant agreement, it says we can receive capital advances. I received a capital advance. It was a little interesting finding out we cannot, but I understand the way they're managing it. I did talk to the senator's staff and kind of talked a little bit about the push, and his immediate response was, what would be the board's appetite about doing it in kind of the regular process? And I said, I certainly can ask this question. But I just don't want to be representing this 6-8 months ago as we wouldn't have any outlay, and now we're going to have an outlay. Again, maybe a number, and I don't know what an appropriate number would be, but maybe not over $150,000, which is what we've already, $140,000, what we've already received. But we want to be able to do work within the quarters, and I guess that's the other piece of this. Once we've paid the bills, we can receive the reimbursement. So in a perfect world, 2 or 3 days before the end of the quarter, the contractor would be paid. So a month ahead of time, we would request the payment, they would be paid, I'd have a canceled check, and then 3 days later, we'd report that with the canceled check, and then 21 days later, we have a check. Sometimes it doesn't line up that way, and we might be 3 or 4 months in a lag because of the way the reimbursement works. We have to have the canceled check to the contractor as proof of payment. It's not just an invoice at that point. So there's going to be some timing on our behalf. I do not believe this is a big issue, but again, I feel like it's very important to get you up to speed on this process as we go through it, just to ensure that that there's more risk here than there was when we initially created the project, but there's still not a great amount of risk.
Mr. Long.
So we would definitely want this project to continue moving forward. There's no reason for us to not want that. And I think, you know, just from what you've told us, that we can ask for payments as we go. And if we decide there is a cap, whether it's 150 or 200 or whatever, $1,000 or a time period, wouldn't it be better left up to kind of decide when? Maybe Mr. McCarty and you can work out those details that are beneficial. So maybe we get more done in a short period that we would ask for money sooner.
Yes, certainly. And when talking with Steve, I appreciate all of Mr. McCarty's concern for cash flow because of his understanding of the history of this organization. But I will say that when we did talk with him about this one, we're in a much better cash flow position now. And just for this group, Steve will keep me honest on this one. He won't let us go out and do too many of these. But if we're doing 30 a quarter, that's 165 grand. That would allow us to kind of get and that would be 30 homeowners getting converted every quarter. That's a pretty. It doesn't seem like a lot of work when we talk about coordinating multiple visits and inspections and all those things. It's a good bit of work for our contractor. So that's kind of when we were working off that number, thinking that might be a good number to work with. That way, we're not asking Steve to cash flow $700,000. But even with that, the turnaround in a worst case scenario would be a quarter on that money, because at the end of the quarter you report and then you receive your funds. So we're not going to be exposed for that long. I can tell you we are very focused on closing year end, making sure our cash flow position is the same position that was reported to you previously, so we won't have any big expenses before the end of the year, and then we get that kind of full year to do this work and ensure that we're closing by year's end, which obviously we wouldn't wait that long, but at least it all is encapsulated in a single year.
Okay. Mr. Lowry.
I may have missed this in whatnot, and just trying to understand. Is this a guaranteed grant that we're guaranteed the money, or is it kind of one of these? Because at the end of the day, I don't want to be held accountable for a large amount of money because the state of Illinois finally said, we don't like you anymore, you don't get it.
We have an agreement. So yes, the money is part of a bond issuance. The money is available, and we have an agreement for that money. Understanding that in that agreement, there's probably some language that says if at any time the state wants to sever the agreement, all unexpended grant funds will be swept or something like that. But we would have legal standing to receive any funds we expended on behalf of the grant under that grant agreement because we're meeting the terms of the agreement.
Okay.
So I don't like to say guarantee.
Okay.
But this is, the state is making payments on time. The bond fund has been, the bonds have been issued to make this fund available, and we have that executed agreement in place. These are pretty strong pieces for us to ensure we'll receive our funds back. And that's why we think that the minor exposure of a smaller amount is a better way to do this, where we chip away.
Right.
And really, we've already received the 140, so it's like if we just kind of work off that rolling.
Gotcha.
We get it back, and then we pay it out, and we get it back, and it's almost the same 140 grand. We just keep flipping over. So
we're not at risk of losing a large amount of money
That's
based
correct.
on what we're doing
That's
here.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Keeping in mind, December 1st of 25.
yeah, so December 1st of 25, the start of our fiscal is our trigger for this. So we're making payments through the initial capital advance. Now we're running low on money, but anything that we expend going forward will be encapsulated in Q1 of the next year, or we could close Q4 if we did December work, and we'll be able to kind of roll that forward. But again, minor exposures. We intend to report every quarter and request all the funds we need back. The biggest thing is just not having our contractors, and we'll monitor that. I don't want them going to 100 homes in Q1. Because that's $500,000, and so we'll ensure that's an appropriate amount. And based on our current performance, I think that 30 a quarter is a good number.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, Mr. Eckhoff, first time. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with what Craig said earlier. Proceed. If Steve's cool with it, I'm more than fine with it.
I think if we have a wallet, we stay in the wallet, be all right.
So
We got a couple more.
Mr. Swanson?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Ben, how many houses are on the list to be done?
We can, under the grant agreement, I think we have 150 covered, based on funds. I think we can do a little more than that. I think the initial proposals were like, maybe as many as 170 homes could be converted. And that, understanding that if a home only needs 2,500 to do the conversion, then that, more funds are available. I will say, it's expensive, more expensive than we thought, but we're likely going to be able to convert about 170 homes, though.
Would it be smarter to divide that by 4 and get this project complete in a year, 4 quarters?
Yeah, we're targeting for that to be,
It's a little more than 30 homes.
Yeah, and it might be, and that might be where if we're getting a good quarter, and the money's rolling properly, we'll converse with Steve and just ensure that, if we need to do a 200,000 instead, that to maybe help move it along a little faster, that we might do that. And we've got some so just so this group's aware, we're the managing permitting agency for it, so we're sending our third-party plumbing inspector out there, so we've got some costs we're recouping for that, so that kind of comes off that $1 million, but we don't have, I think we're maybe 150 per resident on the permit side. It's not a big expensive permit, but we'll be requesting that to reimburse our coffers too. So
Okay. Ms. Foster?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm in favor of what Jen is saying. We have done, I believe they've done about 40 homes. The project is working well, and I do believe that the state of Illinois is committed to Pembroke Township to get this done. So I will be reaching out to the mayor and to our Congress people as well to make sure that they keep their promise to us to move us into the 21st century.
yeah, we are in a bit of a good position potentially as work with Representative Haas and Senator Joyce received the funds, but now we have Senator Sims and Representative Smith who represent the area. So it's like we almost get an extra set of political will down in Springfield to ensure that we're and we meet pretty regularly with our state representatives and they understand that we're doing something on behalf of an area that's not necessarily ours. And they understand that, so they're very helpful when we need. If I need somebody in the department that I can't get a hold of, I can text Nick, and next thing I know, I have a phone call set up. So it's going well. It's still a lot of work to be done, but we'll get it finished up for you.
Okay, Mr. Long.
So we've previously voted on this and have agreed to this. Do we just need a head nod for you, or do we need another vote to say we're going to do it because we're changing the format?
So I think the motion that we made was allowing the chairman to probably enter into and amend any agreement with the state of Illinois. We're not necessarily doing that. We're working under that same agreement. There's two kind of tranches in that agreement where it would be capital advance or reimbursement. We're still following that agreement, so I don't believe that's changed necessarily. Just maybe more of the promise I made to you isn't the reality of what we're experiencing. And so I don't believe a motion is required. I want the group to know, and this I might send a memo to the entire board, just so that way everyone on the board knows that we're proceeding this way. Just so that way no questions come up. But this is the committee we typically report to, so I felt it appropriate to report to this committee.
Seems like I remember we didn't set a dollar amount on it originally in my head. I mean, I could be wrong.
Well, it's all spelled out in the grant agreement. The total amount per household and the total amount of the grant are spelled out in the grant agreement. But in the grant agreement, there's not an amount that the county would be willing to authorize in a single expenditure. It's not that the agreement's not written that way.
So we need to tail that on the end of that then?
Oh, no, I don't believe so. Really,
no? Okay, whatever you want to do, we can do it. We can vote with that. I don't want to get committed.
No, I don't believe it's that. It's more that we're still working under the agreement that was executed and that was authorized by this board for the chairman to execute. We're still doing all of those things. It's just there's kind of parallel language in there that allows you to kind of go left or right at the fork, and instead of going right, we're going left.
Okay, anyone, okay, Mr. Eckhoff.
Last time. Ben, could you come to Friday's finance and just give finance the overview of it?
I
Just let
cannot,
them
but
know.
I can Zoom if you need me to.
Okay, all right. If anything, I'll just notify finance. So the 170 houses, are there more houses for next year and the following year for this, not this grant, but maybe another grant opportunity for this, or?
Yeah, there are more houses in the universe as we see it.
Okay.
I think there's about 400 homes in the area now. That is depending upon whether or not NICOR can receive all the easements they need to extend all the mains they have. There are some laterals that are outside of the prescribed footage that you're allowed to receive, so the homeowner would have to pay more. So the idea that we understand not all 400 and some odd homes will be hooking up. I do know that as we've been working through this grant, we do a call every other Friday morning, and we're starting to kind of have that conversation about what are the next steps. What are the energy efficient steps that NICOR has programming for? What are the appliance steps that can potentially could you receive rebates on? And so all kind of the whole package, and that's kind of part of that conversation. I don't believe we've secured an additional fund to do the remainder of the homes, though.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? No? Okay. Mr. Wilson, may as well stay there. Okay. Next up, we have transportation, rural transportation. Is that an update for us?
It is, and I think it's a good update. So, may have been this committee presented a bunch of vague concepts surrounding rural transit and our involvement in our neighboring counties' transit. And we've had several meetings now. As recently as yesterday, I was just with DOT at central office talking about the funding for the communities. But for the edification of this committee, Livingston County has voted and agreed to step up as the lead applicant for a 3-county district. We've been working with Alina just kind of to get her up to speed. The commitment from the county is unofficial, but we've at a handshake agreement agreed to help them with their program compliance efforts. There are some offers that the state has to help them, but I know we were kind of in this sort of nebulous, we should probably help them, but we don't know exactly how much of our time it would involve or what the cost would look like, but we don't want to leave them in the lurch. Weighed against what is the true value to our county to offer transit in other counties. I think this solution is probably best for our county in that we're not obligated then to run a 4-county transit district and have a single employee of ours paid to do all that other work, whilst with some limited free time from our department, we will be offering some direct help with Livingston as they get the program off the ground. Yesterday's conversation, and this was one of the conversations I had with you all, was none of it makes sense if there's not enough money available. IDOT has sent several iterations of letters, and while they have not agreed to what I would perceive as the full funding, they've come quite a long way, and the numbers produced yesterday and shared with the boards were very good numbers for the entities involved. They've received the full federal allocation as we see it, and most of the local state allocation, knowing that they're maximizing that grant is a very difficult thing to do. So the state's kind of looking at a balance for them, and I do believe the numbers they produced yesterday are sufficient to offer appropriate rural transit within those counties, and that kind of satisfies that back burner concern we had, where if our provider is only providing for us, then 100% of all of their administrative costs are a burden on our system, and that would adversely impact our transit. So this seems to be headed really in the right direction. We're waiting on a vote from Ford County on the 27th, and then Livingston County will vote after that, because Livingston and Iroquois County do not touch. So Ford County will have to vote in the middle. They're about 6 miles apart. And so once Ford votes, and we did get confirmation yesterday from leadership, they're looking at this 3-county option as their most viable option. So good news in rural transit, not necessarily directly tied to Kankakee Transit, but I have spoken to this group about it before, and I wanted to give you an update and let you know where we were, so.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Ben anymore? Well, I got him up here. Okay, thank you, sir. Are you gonna stay there?
I
know.
I'm on stuff.
Yeah, okay. Next, we have contracts with the e-waste electronic recycling. Mr. Wilson and Mr. Skimmerhorn probably gonna say something here.
Actually, in your pay, it's not a contract, it's a service agreement. We participate in the SARA program, which is Consumer Electronic Recycling Act through the IEPA. The agreement that is in your packet is with the service provider. It is our duty to collect the electronics, which we partner with Belson's Scrap and Steel to do that. And Dynamic Life Cycle Innovations, they're the ones who come and pick it up and take it away and actually recycle it. They are chosen for us by the IEPA. We really get no say in that, but we have to renew this service agreement every year. So that's what that is what is on here. Ben, did you want to include anything about how the programs have been going?
Yeah, from a program perspective, so when we wrote the original agreement with Belson, it was a 2-year agreement with renewals for 3 through 7 to get us through the entire SARA program. And we have in March of every year we report numbers. So I have last year's numbers, but last year we hauled in 125,000 pounds of e-waste. 87% of that's televisions, 10% of it's printers and faxes. So there's like a few kind of odds and ends items that aren't, but you know, we're talking about TVs, and old printers and faxes and things along that line. You know, it really is a good program. It's hopefully keeping televisions out of ditches and giving you somewhere to take them rather than just leave them in your basement or in the back of your garage, and you inherit them when you buy somebody else's house because there's 3 or 4 TVs just hanging out in the basement they didn't take away with them. But and I mean, I don't know if 125,000 pounds is a lot. It seems like a lot to me, knowing that, you know, every man, woman, and child is contributing at least 1 pound of electronics waste, you know, per year from this county, and we're keeping that out of landfills and ensuring that the heavy metals are recycled. It really does seem like a good program. I am hopeful, and maybe Del can talk a little bit about the conversations we have, but SARA expires in 26, and so we're really hopeful for renewal and ensuring that this program can continue for our residents.
Yeah, I actually was at a seminar about a week ago where my counterparts all got together and talked about the sunsetting of the SARA program and what new legislation might look like, and it seems that we're going to be asking for more of an expansion of the program, collecting more different types of electronics. One of the big things on there was microwaves. They're currently not collected. So everybody was wanting to include that, and stereo equipment, that's something else that's not included. And I think the conversation there was that the stereos are probably okay, it's the speakers where they run into problems with that. But so we don't know what that's going to look like. The program currently does expire January 1st, 2026, so some things are going to be happening. Another part of the conversation was more funding for the program. Currently the program funds the transportation and the recycling. It does not fund the collection of the electronics.
Okay, Ms. Weber?
So is the grant the only money involved? So a person who takes the TV doesn't get anything for the metal in it. The recycling place doesn't get anything for giving it to Dynamic. Dynamic doesn't get any money for picking it up.
Dynamic gets their money from the state as part of the SARA program.
As the grant money.
Belson gets their money as part of our agreement with Belson's.
So the person doesn't get any money for.
So they're
just muddy tires.
If you turn over a computer tower to Belson, they will purchase that off of the user and recycle the heavy metals out of it, and they pay you a per pound. It's not a lot of money per pound. The televisions are cost prohibitive, and that's why this program exists. No one will take the waste for free, much less pay anybody for the waste. Computer towers are the only ones that have, and Dell tells me that microwaves have vibranium in them or something. Maybe you can get away with those.
Beryllium.
Yeah, for heavy metals, but I think vibranium's funnier, Dell. But there's not a lot of money in it, and so the way the program's set up now, it's just kind of the drop it off. You don't receive anything up for it, but you also don't have to pay anything. Now, I will say that our contract with Belson's is backed by an intergovernmental agreement amongst the villages, so we have participating villages. Karma's our main sponsor there, or our main partner there, covering Bradley, Bourbonnais, Kankakee, and Aroma Park. But we agree to maintain this contract, and then the villages agree to participate in that, so we all kind of cost share in that. The goal being to have about $1 per resident cost in maintaining an e-waste program. So each of the jurisdictions represent a certain number of residents, and they would pay $1 per that, per resident if they want to participate. Not everybody does participate, but the larger communities do participate, and we certainly have enough to cover the contract. And a little bit of marketing, we try to get out there a little bit. We might buy some new magnets to get out and about to people. But when we do fairs and things like that, we make sure to bring our e-waste materials. We just had e-waste info at the regatta. Just as we're out there doing other things, we ensure kind of all of our program info is available to everybody, that they know the program exists.
And the tie to that is when you bring something in, they ask you which city you live in.
Yes, so they, and that's I guess maybe to Dell's earlier point on funding, not everyone has a Belson's in their community with a very robust collection software. We provided to them some GIS information and an address list so they know who's in a participating community, and they produce an inbound report. I have every address, what they dropped off, how many pounds of it. I mean, we get a really robust inbound report for Belson's at the end of the year. So we don't have a lot of collection and tabulation time on our end of it. They've agreed under contract to do that. And so if the communities aren't having a partner like that, though, there's a lot of towns and counties saying we would like direct funds to cover e-waste. Now, we would agree maybe we could offset some of that contract with a grant, would be ideal, where potentially we wouldn't have as big a cost as they're reworking the SARA program. So one of our requests would be direct funding to allow us to pay our partner. So Dynamic could get paid, potentially Belson's could be paid, or negotiated other under that contract, and maybe there wouldn't be a direct cost to the residents.
And the last question is, does the village get the number that 48 people from Herscher brought a TV or something?
We share with whoever asks. We put out an annual report showing kind of inbound and outbound waste and breakdown. I typically just do kind of waste stream by a percentage to the communities. So I show them, in 21, Karma represented 58% of the waste stream, and then I break that down into a further bucket and say Bradley represented 30%, and Bourbonnais 30%, and Kankakee 30%, and Aroma 10 or whatever. Just so that way the mayors know that it's being used, and they can reevaluate whether their funds are, especially for the smaller communities, if their funds are maybe beneficial. Now, I will say some of the towns that said no originally are now asking about being part of the program, so I might have an intergovernmental agreement amendment to bring to you soon, but everybody seems relatively happy because it's just kind of dust the hands off and allow a third party to manage it. I notice people seem to like that. We'll manage it at the staff level here in the county, and then no one else necessarily has to do the work, and they do seem to enjoy that. And it does feel like kind of a nominal cost for the smaller communities. I mean, if you're 600 people and it's $600, it's not a big fund.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess we need to have any more questions on that? Okay. I guess we need a motion in a second.
Motion for
the roll call
for the county board chairman to sign the agreement.
Okay. Yeah. Motion in a second for county board chairman to sign the agreement. Okay, Mr. Long. Okay, Mr. Marion. You don't need to say anything. Okay. Can we get a roll call, please? I'll put you back on.
Mr. Featherling?
That's you.
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade.
Aye.
Ms. Turner. Mr. Marion.
Aye.
Mr. Lowy.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have the Kankakee County Economic Alliance. Mr. Wilson, you gonna do that too? I see Mr. Nugent back there, you gonna talk too?
It is that time again. It was funny, in preparation for this, I went back and watched a video from 2 years ago where we talked about this. So this is a renewal that we do every other year to tie to the board seats. So as the board members come on and have terms, this agreement is tied to those terms. And we typically in November bring forward the agreement to a committee for vote in December under the new board. So once the new board takes office, we will vote to renew the contract. So this contract goes back to 2008, establishing the Economic Alliance. Essentially what we do at the staff level is we update the numbers to reflect the updated 2-year cycle. So first payment will be due March 31st, 2025, and last contract said 2023. This contract outlines scope of services and then what we would call assurances. So we have a document and then 2 exhibits. Exhibit A is the scope of services offered by the Economic Alliance staff, spells out some of the activities that are done by that staff, and then the Exhibit B is the assurances within there. So essentially we're ensuring that everybody has insurance and complies with applicable laws. I will say that this is probably one of the more straightforward things we do on a recurring basis, where it's been going for so long. I did ask if Tim could be here just in case there were any direct questions. I will say though, in January, we typically do a full kind of rollout of, year-end stuff for the Alliance. Tim will give a full report on everything that's happened and kind of an update for the group on the previous work, and then I'll touch on some of the current projects we're working on and some of the future stuff that's happening within the Alliance. So our portion of this, we pay all of the benefits for the employees. There's 2 employees at the Alliance. The county handles the benefits under our benefit package. We do pay them through our payroll system, and then on a quarterly basis, Tim, I get a check from Tim and I bring it over to Michelle and we process where we receive all the funds back for the hourly wage. So, our participation in this is the benefits, and then everything else is covered by the Economic Alliance funds.
Okay. Any questions? No questions. Okay. Is it a significant change in the contract? You said
no, sir.
Changes.
It is. We update the dates from the last contract, and we just make them congruent. So anything that said 2023 now says 2025. Okay. That it's actually a really easy lift for us to make these changes. We just go back to the previous one and make some simple changes.
Okay. That's it, huh? Okay. Anybody have any questions? None. We're going to move on here to get a motion in a second here for this. Okay. Mr. Marion and Mr. Miller, get a roll call, please.
Mr. Featherling.
Here. Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Ms. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade.
Aye.
Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Marion.
Aye.
Mr. Lowy.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Do we have anything under old business? I'm not aware of any. Del, you have anything for us?
I do not.
Okay. Anything under new business? Okay. Get a motion to adjourn. Mr. Eckhoff, seconded by Mr. Swanson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.